So Ali Farhat spoke to you guys previously about money management in college, which is an extremely significant conversation. Now, the second half of this conversation is probably even more significant. It speaks to you on how to write a CV. And the reason why this is so important is because you're going to have to write a CV at every stage of your career. You're going to have to write it for undergrad, for a bachelor's degree. You're going to have to write one to get a job. You're going to have to write one again to get into graduate school if that's the path that you choose to take. And if you're an entrepreneur looking for investments, you guys will need to have a CV or a portfolio for that as well. So Ali Farhat has provided this really great form for you all to look at that will educate you a little bit more on the content that he's going to provide for the second half of the session. And I would like to welcome him back up to speak to you on how to write a CV. Thank you.
I feel like a celebrity coming back up here again. So thank you. So we had the first part talking about money management. CV is just as important. And have any of you ever written a CV, or maybe a better term is a resume? Has anyone? Okay, so some of you guys in the room have some experience. Some things to keep in mind as we kind of talk about how to write a CV or a resume is you're basically putting your personal brand on a piece of paper. And I think they're passing out just an easy template to kind of follow when you're filling out this resume. Again, your experience, your your expertise per se is not. We know it's not going to be full right now, but as you grow and as you gotta get more experience, there are things that you can do currently right now, even if you don't have work experience or you don't have a corporate job. There are things that you can write. So when you're kind of filling out this template, you just kind of on the piece of paper, you kind of want to bring out the person of who you are, because there are certain things that could be happening. One is it could be filtering through a software, right? And so as you're filling out these CVs or these resumes, whatever it is that you're applying for, whether it's to a school or to a job, you want to look at that job description and you want to make sure that you're filling in the key terminology within that position that you're going for. And the reason why I say that is because you have to keep in mind, if you just look at it on a larger scale, if you have one or two people that are looking at resumes and 100 people apply for the position, the reality is they might not read all 100 applicants' resumes. And what I mean by that is most of these companies or these corporations filter the resumes through a software. And so they're kind of like picking key terminology within your resume to see whether or not you kind of go on to the next stage. So I'm just giving an example. If you're applying for an engineering position within an engineering firm, whatever that job description is, there are certain terminology or keywords that they're looking for before bringing you in for an interview. So sometimes you'll hear people say, well, I've applied to 50 companies and nobody's calling me back. It's really important before we kind of get into this template to understand what the position is that you're applying for. So if it says, I don't know, a finance expert in Excel, and you don't have any expertise in Excel, or you don't put that in the resume or showcase that you have knowledge in this field, well, that software might not pick that up, and so you might not move on. So before we get started, just keep in mind two things. One is this is your brand, your personal brand that you're trying to explain on this piece of paper. And two, you want to make sure that whatever position that you're applying for, you're understanding in their own words, because they're going to have, right, the job description, they're going to have the requirements, that you're understanding the terminology that they're using and the keywords that they're using. Okay, so when you're looking at kind of an undergrad, which is what most of you are going into, right? Again, your work experience per se might not be there, but that's okay, because there are other things that you can put that you guys have accomplished in your young life that's still important that maybe colleges want to see or organizations want to see. And so you kind of want to outline what that academic career is and your accomplishments. And again, but you don't want to do a 5, 6 pages. These need to be one pagers. They need to be able to quickly read these bullet points. And it's not this novel that you're writing. It's just a really quick one pager that gets to the point. You want to also describe your interest, right? So after they're done reading that one pager, that person should have a good understanding of who you are. Now, you might not give the full picture, but they should have a good understanding of whether or not this could be a potential good fit for you and the company. Um, Again, any like references or recommendations that you can put in that resume, it's important because it shows the scope of your experience. And so that's something to kind of keep in mind. There are certain things that you're telling the story, right? And so there are certain things that you just kind of want to follow. First one is obviously list who you are, right? And this is very simple: your name, your email, your phone number. You want to just make sure that the information is accurate and that the applicant can reach you easily. Okay. Now some professionals will do a picture resume where they might have a headshot of themselves on their resume or their CV. Some people just have kind of their names and email address and phone number as well too. Again, this is something that we kind of talked about earlier. You just kind of want to summarize your skills, right? It's not so much like putting in this 5 pages of all your achievements, and the content needs to be relevant to what you're applying for. So if you're applying for something in finance, but you're putting your experience about, theater, right, that has nothing to do with it, then that doesn't necessarily have to be in this one pager. So you want to make sure that your education and the skill sets that you're putting on this one page fit with what you're applying for. And you want to try to do it in the bullet points as best as you can. Obviously, important things at your guys' career right now is your GPA, any organizations that you've joined, any outside activities that you're doing, any organizations that you're a part of, community service work. So all that can be kind of described in there, but also make sure that it's relating to the position that you're applying for. It's also important that in your guys', again, things might change. What you guys feel or what you guys are thinking of who you are today might change 4 or 5 years from now, and that's okay. But just have an idea of what interests you at this moment and kind of work towards that. And if you need to pivot, then you pivot. But at the moment of what you're applying for, you want to put in kind of the courses that relate to what you're applying for, your interest, and why you're kind of pursuing what you're pursuing. So I know they talked about it earlier today, where if you're applying to pre-med, and if you've done some volunteer work at a health clinic, maybe you put that in there, or if you've taken an online course about medication or medicine and healthcare, maybe putting that in there as well too. So whatever it is that you're applying for, making sure that you're letting them know that you've done some additional work towards that position. And then also just kind of explain any research that you've done. So again, it doesn't have to be this high-level research project, but it could be something that maybe you've done with a community organization and what you found in that research or in that project. If that relates to what you're applying for, that's something that you can also put on that one pager, just to kind of have you stand out from the other applicants. Again, the whole point of this one pager is to tell a story, but that relates to, again, what you're applying to. So this one is, sometimes it's hard for people to do because sometimes we feel that we haven't done enough or that we think that we haven't done enough. And so when you're doing these resumes or these CVs, it's really important to take a step back and look at what you've accomplished over the last 6 to 12 months. And you'll be surprised, really, that when you kind of just take a step back, that there are a lot of great things that you've accomplished. And so if you've been recognized or if you've been a part of an organization that you've been awarded something it's really important to put those in, because sometimes when we're doing these CVs or these resumes, it's hard for us to speak about ourselves, right? You know, a lot of us, you know, we're humble, and you know, it's hard for people to say I did this, because you think that you're bragging, and you're not necessarily bragging. You're just showcasing who you are, and so there's nothing wrong with that. If you won an accomplishment, you worked hard for that accomplishment, so put that in there, because it shows your work ethic. It shows that you've been recognized. It shows that you're a high performer. So there's a lot of things that go with that accomplishment. It's not necessarily you bragging and saying, "Oh, I won this award." So it's really, really important that if you've been recognized even for community service or anything like that, that you put that in your CV. This is again what we're kind of talking about. Any extra activities that you're doing, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with the school. But if it's part of the school, great. But if you're a part of, the chess club, or robotics, or the basketball team, or outside of the school, if you're part of the community, if you work with, any foundations or organizations, just kind of putting that in there as well too, because again, it's telling the person that's reading it, the type of person that you are outside of school, right? We all know that school is important. We all know getting good grades is important, but there's more to you than just kind of showing up to class and getting those A's. So it's really important to make sure that you highlight those. And if you don't have any of those right now, that's okay as well too. There's always organizations out there outside of the school that might interest you, that you can participate in, that you can join. Don't think that you have to fill this one pager out right now if you don't have the experience. You can always join a community service organization, and you can always get that experience so that you can put it in there. So that's another thing that they'll look for when you're building these resumes. And then the last one is it's really important, right? You'll hear this throughout your career, regardless of where you're at, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whether you're someone like me that's in the corporate world. Your network is very, very important. It is extremely important. This world cannot be done if you want to do great things by yourself. It really takes a team. It takes a village. It takes, in anything that you do in life. And so you're not going to do it on your own. And that's okay. You're going to ask for help. I still ask for help. It's okay. The goal is to surround yourself with the right people. And as you build those meaningful relationships, when you come back and ask for that reference, there'll be no hesitation. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to just be a teacher. It can be a community member. It can be, an organization that you've worked for. But you really want to build these references, one, because it shows your character. Two, it also builds your network, so that way, if you get into those moments where you're stuck or you're confused, or you thought you wanted to go into this career path, but you may not think it's the right one, these references could also become your mentors, right? And so it's really important to have mentors in your life, because they hold you accountable, they make you think differently, they make you want to grow. The last thing that I'll say is, as you guys all have this, you guys have this example of the CV, is that, as we're having these discussions today about college, and it sounds overwhelming, and it's a lot to kind of take in, just understand that you do not have to have all the answers at this moment. We've said this many, many times already. And that your CV or your resume is going to change, and that's okay. But in order to grow in life, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whether you're a professional, is you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It's really, really important that you understand that. Life is not this straight path, right? If there's a destination that you want to get to, that's great. Identify that destination, but understand, to get to that destination is not one road. There are going to be many turns, there are going to be many hurdles, there are going to be many speed bumps, and that's okay, because the destination is not the ultimate prize, believe it or not. It's the journey, it's the process. And through that journey, through that process, you're going to grow, you're going to evolve. But if you continue to not put yourself in uncomfortable situations from this age, I'm talking about from right now, you will never grow to the full potential that you are. So just, I hope that helps. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have. And thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak with you all. Yeah,
Elaborate a little bit.
sure.
Emphasize full time. I would emphasize on the ability of being bilingual.
Absolutely.
That's a knowledge. Business world today is a small village. More language you speak.
Yeah. Are there any other questions or comments? Cover letter is just a kind of a more like a paragraph that talks about, who you are, why you're applying for it. Whereas the CV is kind of just like bullet points. So you'll say, this is my experience, and then I've done 1, 2, 3. But it's not a novel or a full paragraph. It's just bullet points to get to the point real quick. And a cover letter is just kind of saying, this is who I am, and then this is why I'm applying, why I feel I would be a good fit for this, organization or whatever it is that you're applying for. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's really, really important that you understand the position that you're going for because, like I was saying earlier, a lot of these companies, especially these bigger organizations and corporations, and even colleges, they have software that they use to where they're pulling key terms. So if you're not related to that specific topic that they're asking for, you might not even move on to a face-to-face or to get an interview. So it's really, really important that you're putting in experience and keywords that fit to that position. Don't put it just to put it. Like it doesn't matter if you have 4 pages of accomplishments, but if the accomplishments don't match up to what you're applying for, it doesn't really matter. If you're trying to be an engineer, but you're talking about something that has a finance, it doesn't correlate. So you just want to make sure it relates. Any other questions?
I mean,
Yeah, please. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Mhm.
really the lifespan of your resume is 15 seconds. 15 seconds only. I don't care how many pages. You are not able to sell yourself to the reviewer. Resume goes down. There will be no next step. So the CV or the cover letter, lifespan. I don't care how much you have, how much you need to have. For your lead.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? We good? All right, well, again, thank you guys for giving me the time. I hope this was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, please let me know. But thank you.